All right, everyone, welcome back into another NFL DFS video. We have a fun Thursday night showdown here between the Arizona Cardinals and the Seattle Seahawks, a game that's projected to be a 1.5 point spread, a true toss-up game. We have a bunch of players in some pretty good spots as well. Fun slate to break down. Let's go ahead and get into it. So as always, I do like to start off with a quick game preview. Just going to use Kyler Murray's profile here to show you guys it. So it's a 1.5 point spread. Game total wise, it's at 43.5 total points for the over and under. So not the highest scoring game, which to me, that's probably a little bit too low. I think that's more in regards to it being a Thursday night game potentially there. But 1.5 point spread, it is a game that is projected to be a toss up. Now, interestingly enough, guys, Zach Charbonnet went from looking like he was going to be healthy and fully good to go in this game yesterday to being someone that is currently listed as questionable. That is something that popped up on the board really late yesterday. Okay, it seemed like he was going to be good to go. Now, we don't always get the best practice reports on these short weeks, so it's really tough to truly gauge how healthy he is. Okay, so be monitoring this. If we get news that he might be limited, then obviously we're not really going to play him that much. He is someone that can fall into the end zone still regardless, so that'd be very tilting. But if he's obviously out, Kenneth Walker instantly becomes one of the better plays on the slate just in general, and probably one of the better captain plays on the slate. Now, the issue that we have with Kenneth Walker is this matchup is also kind of a difficult matchup as well, which sounds weird to say. So if you look at it, guys, Kenneth Walker has had a weird season. Let's just put it that way, because you watch the film and you see him pop off these big plays, and then you're like, wait, that's not showing up in the box score. What's going on? And then you're like, oh, like a second later, it's like, oh, there's a holding call. Oh, there's an illegal block, like stuff like that. And like situations where it didn't change the play all that much. Like he has made the most out of like some bad situations on some runs. And some people are going to see the stats and be like, ooh, this is bad stuff for Kenneth Walker. And it's just like, no, he really hasn't had that much room to run. And on the few runs where he has been able to get to or past the line of scrimmage, there's a penalty away from the football that didn't really change the play. He's looked good. Let's just put it that way, guys. And the issue, though, is that this is another matchup against the Cardinals, who have been very good against opposing running backs. And so he might not have that much room to run in this game as well. Now, I do think there's a good chance that he gets a lot of work in the receiving game in this game, simply because the Cardinals are actually one of the worst defenses in the league thus far in terms of giving up yardage in the passing game to opposing running backs. And that also makes Zach Charbonnet someone that would be in play as well. Okay, but if Charbonnet is out, yes, Kenneth Walker just becomes instantly one of the better plays on the slate. It wouldn't be surprising to see him have a breakout game in this game. It does feel like it's due. And again, it's kind of weird given the games that he's had, because you look at Pittsburgh, was great in that game, but Zach Charbonnet was out. Some people are kind of just like, we'll see. And then last week, 2 touchdowns, which were both very impressive touchdowns, actually. Okay, one was like a 2-yard touchdown, one was like a 3-yard touchdown. He powered his way into the end zone for both of those. So I don't know. I'm kind of expecting a big game for him, but if he does have a big game, again, it's going to be because he caught some passes out of the backfield. So guys, that's kind of my weird way of saying, my long way of saying that I think Kenneth Walker is going to end up being someone that kind of falls into, I forget who this rule was. Over the years, I've said like the Zay Flowers, the captain or not playing him type play, the Tyquan Thornton. We'll just call it the Tyquan Thornton play this year, okay? We've had Tyquan Thornton on a bunch of showdown slates already. And the point is, Kenneth Walker on the slate could end up being the highest scorer on the slate. And so if we are playing him, I think we actually just get our most exposure to him in the captain spot. Okay, we don't need to play him in the flex all that much, because the bet on him by playing him is just that he's going to go off. It's not that likely that he has a game at his price tag that's going to reward you if you play him in the flex spot. Okay, there are going to be other options to go with. The bet on him would be to play him in the captain spot, have your exposure there, and then be good to go. And then let's go ahead and take a peek at another running back in this game, Trey Benson. Trey Benson also gets a pretty good matchup against the Seahawks, especially in regards to the receiving game. So we know that James Conner is going to be out in this game, which should lead to Trey Benson gain a healthy workload of the snaps. Now, that being said, we probably will see Amari DiMercato a little bit as well. Trey Benson's been solid overall. He is someone that I do wonder if he's going to maybe fall off a little bit in terms of like overall production and efficiency. But overall, I do think he's going to be solid. Okay, kind of think Chuba Hubbard prior to this fantasy football season. And I say that because Chuba Hubbard was obviously getting a lot of hype this season for, I don't really understand fully why. that's neither here nor there. But the point is, prior to last year, Chuba Hubbard was just consistently good. Not great, but consistently good, making the correct plays. I think that should be our expectations here for Trey Benson. And it's a good matchup, and I do expect him to get production in the receiving game in this game. He also does somewhat fall into that same alignment, though, not as much so, because Kenneth Walker is more of a home run hitter, whereas Trey Benson is a little bit more of a solid flex play overall. So I don't mind Trey Benson, and I also do really like Kenneth Walker in this game again. So if we're playing Kenneth Walker, probably captain spot, we can get away with playing Trey Benson in the flex spot. I don't actually think we need to play Trey Benson at all, really, in the captain spot. I shouldn't say at all, but that much. Now let's go ahead and jump back into the Seahawks here real quick as well, just in general, looking at some of the plays that we are getting. The issue that we have in the slate is we really aren't getting any elite value, okay? It is worth calling out. We might have one. Like, let's say Zach Charbonnet is out. Maybe George Holani does get a decent amount of work. The reason why I got a lot of work last week was because of his fourth quarter production, where he got work in a blowout pretty much. So not a terrible value in that regard. AJ Barner is okay as well. If you kind of look at his, we'll just pull it up here, guys. So AJ Barner projected to get 4.2 points. So at that price tag, not terrible there for the Seahawks, but also not someone we need to go crazy with. And let's just take a peek at kind of the overall values that we are getting on this slate here for the Seahawks. So it is JSN, Kenneth Walker, Cooper Kupp. George Holani's not terrible. Torrey Holton's definitely interesting considering his price tag. He's also someone that could somewhat fall into the captain or flex option there as well, where if you're getting your exposure to him, you're only playing him in the captain spot. And he obviously had a little bit of a breakout game last week. Not only did he score a touchdown in the receiving department on a very awesome play there, he also scored a touchdown in the return game as well, which was an awesome play for him as well. So he's had 2 straight games of a touchdown, and it did really feel like a breakout game. I do kind of expect us to see a lot of 11 personnel, actually, which is not something that they ran a lot last week. And so it is a guess on them going to 11 personnel in a game that's projected to be closer. And if that ends up happening, I actually think that would help Kenneth Walker a little bit as well. You spread out the defense a little bit more, especially with how good Sam Darnold has looked the last 2 weeks. I mean, that is huge. And if Sam Darnold continues to play well, we know it's prime time, so maybe that hurts him a little bit. But overall, Torrey Holton as price tag is also a very appealing value. And obviously on showdown slates, we are always trying to find value. I like Horton over Barner. If you want to go Jason Myers and Seahawks DST, I mean, you can. Don't need to go crazy with that. Always mix those in there a little bit. And then in regards to like the pay-ups, Cooper Kupp, he's fine. More of a shoulder short play. If you end up on him, that's fine. The real question mark that we have on the slate is what to do with Sam Darnold, who's actually the chalkiest option on the slate. I do think he is going to be safe, for 15 or so points, but also it's shocking that he hasn't had bigger DFS weeks thus far, because if you look at the film, he's actually been, again, pretty phenomenal the last 2 weeks. Just hasn't had that. I guess I don't. I'm actually shocked by this. I would have assumed he would have had like 25 at least one of the 2 games. This is kind of crazy to me. Due for a big game, even though he has had big games. So I guess that's actually shocking. I'm actually really shocked. Wow. Obviously didn't get the 300 bonus there, through 2 INTs in that game as well. That hurt him a little bit. Not really rushing the football as well, which is something he can do. Didn't need to do much last week as well. 14 for 18. That's crazy. We are in a weird spot here if we are playing Kenneth Walker in the captain spot, right? Because then it doesn't really make sense to play Sam Darnold that much. Interesting there. JSN, perfectly fine with JSN. This is what's weird. You would expect all the defensive attention to be going to JSN at this point in this game. Now it is a short week. How much can you game plan around that kind of philosophy? Tough to say, but that would be what I would be doing if I was a defense. All right, if Cooper Kupp, Torrey Holton beat me, and if Sam Darnold can get them the football, albeit. But that's the thing. A lot of defenses have been just somewhat selling out to stop the run, which has led Sam Darnold to really be able to pick through the defenses. And so that's where I do kind of expect it to be corrected in this game. Whether or not the Cardinals can do that is interesting. So again, this is an interesting spot about playing like Kenneth Walker in the captain spot, is that you could logically not be on JSN and Sam Darnold. I don't think we need to go crazy with that idea. Obviously, they're going to be some of the top 2 plays on the slate, but it is an interesting thought process in terms of making a good build. Now, when we go ahead and take a peek at the Cardinals, then we're just going to be able to load up on a lot of the Cardinals players as well. Now, the issue that some people might have is, other than Trey McBride and Trey Benson, there might not be that many great plays. Now, Trey McBride does get the best matchup for opposing tight ends, and he's arguably the best tight end in the league. You could make a strong argument that he is someone that should be in the captain spot as well. Again, guys, this is a fun slate because we have a lot of very solid options, and we can make a lot of good lineups work. and we can logically fade some of the studs. It's not like the Monday Night Football game where we know we're going to be fading some studs. We just have to be on the correct combination of which studs go off, and that obviously ended up being an interesting slate in general because basically everyone went off minus like Zay Flowers. This one's a little bit more concentrated. And so, yes, I do really like Trey McBride. I do think we could play him in the captain spot. But again, kind of in terms of a correlation build, Kenneth Walker in the captain spot, Trey McBride, automatically a great flex play. From there, a lot of people are dogging on Marvin Harrison Jr. because, well, they probably should be. He did have a terrible drop last week and could have had a much bigger game than he did. A lot of people are complaining about his production. I'm like, what were you guys expecting? Like, seriously, like he last year did not really look all that good. His production was fine though, like overall. And I think he's still going to be fine overall. Like I think he's going to give us what he gave us last year. And if you're expecting anything more than that, even last year, if you're expecting more than what he did last year, that's kind of on you. Like it is tough for rookies to typically go off in that capacity. He was fine. And I expect for him to continue to be fine. You don't expect those drops to continue. You expect those to get corrected. Look at Quentin Johnston as an example. I think he is the best example for Marvin Harrison Jr. Because they're very similar. Except at this point, I don't think it is no longer a hot take to say Johnson's better than Harrison. But I think that's a good comp. Like you're not bailing on Harrison. He's fine. I do like him at that price tag. I'm fine with it. If we got that salary, he kind of falls into the Cooper Kupp range where if we end up on him, we shrug our shoulders and move on. He's solid. Now from there, are we getting any other values? I don't mind Michael Wilson in this game. He's fine if you have like 3.4 left over to close out your build. By all means, go ahead and click him. Now, we do have another decent value as well with the news that Zay Flowers is going to be out. Okay, so with him being out, that should mean that Greg Dortch gets basically all those snaps. I would assume so. Okay, so Zay Flowers played 48% of the snaps last week, 56% route share. Then we did see Greg Dortch, 25% of the snaps, 31% route share. He is a fine punt play. I was hoping he'd be cheaper than this. And so because he's not, we don't necessarily need to go out of our way to target him that much. And then lastly, guys, another pretty annoying value in terms of price is Tip Riemann? Whatever. I never heard of him, but he did end up playing 50% of the snaps last week. We do know that the Cardinals can try to use two tight ends. He is someone that I thought would be like $800, and that'd be fine with him. Kind of like Charlie Kolar there last week, or for that Monday Night Football game, where it's just like it's a fine punt play at that price tag. This is no longer a good punt play. Like I think we would want to change our builds, but did want to call him out as someone that like wouldn't be shocking to get like 3 DFS points. And let's just go ahead and take a peek at the values here as well. So we are going to see Trey McBride, Trey Benson. We're probably just going out of our way to target them. Kyler Murray is definitely interesting, just in general, guys. We'll toss that in there as well. Because if Marvin Harrison Jr. struggles, it is going to be difficult for Kyler Murray to go off as well. Like Kyler Murray should have had a much better game than he had last week if his receivers actually, were productive and they had just some bad drops and some bad plays. And so it's just whether or not that gets corrected. And so we are probably creating a rule that if we have Kyler Murray in our captain spot, we are playing Marvin Harrison Jr. in the flex. I think that's a good rule to set. And obviously we would also be playing Trey McBride as well in the flex. Now, if we're playing Trey McBride in the captain spot, I don't know if we necessarily need to play Kyler Murray in the flex, okay? Because Trey McBride can go off without Kyler Murray necessarily going off, or at least paying off his price tag. So to me, this will probably be the base of my builds, and that's just where do we go from there? And that's a big question, obviously. Now, because Trey McBride is that much cheaper than like Kenneth Walker, I think I just want to play him in the captain spot for this build specifically to make a better build. So we're just going to go ahead and plug those guys back in. That gives us a little bit more salary left over, not that much, but we could pay up for, let's say, Cooper Kupp or Marvin Harrison Jr. if we choose to do so. 2.5 left over, and this is where we kind of shrug our shoulders. George Holani, I guess if Charmanet's out, I guess we'd be okay with that. Riemann, like that's where it's like, that's the tough part about this slate. And again, here's kind of another lineup combination that we can do here. And then we're left with a kind of a dead pricing tier. And so again, that's kind of the difficult part about this slate currently, even if we go Horton here. Okay, so again, it's kind of fun in that regard, but that's also what makes it difficult. So maybe again, I don't like not playing JSN. And even if we click off of him, we go to like Kenneth Walker in this build, and like instead of him, we still only have 2.3 left over. It is very difficult to make that good build. And so if I'm going to give you guys a first look build, this would be it. And again, this is kind of the fun part about it because there's not a direct lineup path, but there are logical lineups you can make here. Don't necessarily love fading Kenneth Walker. I'll say that. And obviously in this build, if we are fading Kenneth Walker and Jason, that does become risky, but at least we are able to fit in McBride and Benson, who I do think are just almost must plays. Darnold, who I do think is going to be solid. And then if we are not getting to JSN, then we almost have to play Cup. And I think Horton, just given his price tag, is also a must play. So again, difficult part. Let's actually go ahead and take a peek at what the 9-to-5 lineup builder is telling us is the best route to go. Okay, so again, I'm just going to do 5 lineups here for you guys. Click run and see kind of what it spits out to us as a good build. It did go JSN in the captain, Kyler Murray, Sam Darnold, Trey Benson, AJ Barner, Arroyo. I get the punt to him. It is a little bit risky. I get it though. Like you do kind of just shrug your shoulders and move on. This one is a little bit more logical to me. JSN, Kyler Murray, Trey McBride, Cooper Kupp, Michael Wilson. I'm okay with that there as well, but it is really punting to Elijah there, the rookie tight end. Maybe it ends up being a good game for him, but I do prioritize AJ Barner over him. But this really echoes kind of the tough part about this slate. But again, that's kind of what makes it fun. So that's going to do it for this video, guys. Make sure to leave a like, subscribe to the channel if you guys have never done so before. If you guys would like access to any of the tools that you saw in this video, the lineup builder, the NFL cheat sheet, as we also have a lot of other tools as well for props betting and just betting in general, head on over to 9to5sports.com. Get access to all those tools for a low monthly cost of $10 a month. Thanks for being here, guys. Good luck. And as always, let's keep cashing.